Take a deep breath. Now, imagine that this is the fullest, deepest breath you'll take for the next 28 hours. From this moment on, your world will be compressed into a space the size of a washing machine drum. Your only neighbor is the cold, rough rock that's pressing in on you, tighter and tighter. This isn't the opening to a horror movie. This really happened. Humanity's desire to explore has taken us to the moon and into the deepest trenches of the ocean. But when we turn our gaze to the deepest, darkest cracks in the earth, sometimes, the earth decides to keep us in the most brutal way imaginable. Today, you will hear 6 true stories about souls swallowed by the darkness, about those whose adventure became a one-way trip. A word of warning, this is not an easy journey. But if you dare, come with me. In 2001, the internet was still a mysterious and untamed wilderness. A blog post titled "Ted's Caving Page" became one of the first online urban legends. Written in the first person, it documented an exploration that spiraled further and further out of control. At first, everything was normal until, deep inside the cave, they discovered an unmapped passage, one so narrow they could only crawl. Every time they entered, they would hear strange sounds like rock scraping against rock, or like someone whispering in the dark. In the final blog post, Ted wrote that he was taking a gun and going back in alone to find out the truth. And then, the blog, just like Ted himself, was never updated again. Who was he? What happened to him? No one knows. He became a soul forever trapped by an unknown fear in the minds of millions of netizens. A fictional story is enough to make us uneasy. But what if every single word of the tragedies to come is real? In June of 1967, 6 top-tier explorers were having a pleasant morning in one of England's most complex cave systems, Mosdale Caverns. They were experienced, well-equipped, and everything was going perfectly. The one thing they didn't account for was the sudden, violent storm brewing on the surface. The sky tore open. Millions of gallons of rainwater funneled into the valley within minutes, creating a destructive flash flood. Like an angry beast, it plunged into the unassuming cave entrance above their heads. For the people on the surface, it was just heavy rain. For those deep inside the cave, it was a death sentence from heaven. It took rescue teams days to pump the water out, only to find that the group had been instantly engulfed by the furious torrent, without even a moment to react. But what if death isn't in a hurry to take you? What if, instead, it leaves you behind with its masterpiece in the total darkness? Sometimes, the cruelest part isn't death itself, but the wait for it. In 1992, Belgian explorer Peter Verhulsel and his friend Guy were exploring an underwater cave system when Guy was killed instantly by a rockfall. Peter, running out of air, was forced to retreat to a tiny air pocket to await rescue. His only neighbor was the body of his dead friend. Just a few meters away in the darkness, he was there, all alone, with a corpse, in absolute silence and darkness, for 3 whole days. Can you imagine that psychological torture? Every drop of water was a reminder that death was right beside him. Every second, his sanity was being devoured by hunger, cold, and an endless sense of guilt. When the rescue team finally found him, he was alive. But everyone knew that a part of him had died forever in that cold, dark air pocket. Peter was trapped by rock and by death. But in this next story, the trap was one of humanity's greatest emotions, friendship. In the world of extreme diving, there's an iron law, written in blood: you never, ever go back to rescue a fallen comrade, because you'll only double the tragedy. In 2014, in Norway's Plura cave, this law was proven in the most gruesome way. One of 2 Finnish divers died deep inside the cave. His partner was devastated but, due to equipment limitations, could only return alone. A few days later, an elite rescue team, made up of their friends, decided to break that iron law. They were going to bring their friend's body home. However, at the same dangerous depth, in the same bone-chilling darkness, tragedy struck again. One of the rescuers fell. A rescue mission turned into a double tragedy. The pain of this story lies in the courage to do the impossible for a friend, and the heartbreaking price that was paid. They challenged death for friendship, and in the end, they only ended up adding another tombstone to the tragedy. Their tragedy had no audience, but this next man's death became a public performance for the entire world. The year is 1925. There's no television, no internet, but a caver named Floyd Collins becomes the center of attention for all of America, and indeed, the world. In a sand cave on his own family farm in Kentucky, his ankle was pinned by a small rock, trapping him in an extremely narrow passage 55 feet underground. The whole thing quickly turned into an unprecedented media circus. Thousands of people flocked to the scene as if it were a festival. Newspaper headlines updated his condition daily. Radio stations broadcast his heartbeat 24/7. Reporters were even lowered into the cave to interview him. He became the biggest star on the planet, a superstar trapped deep within the earth. But imagine, the whole world is shouting your name, praying for you, but you are utterly alone, feeling your life slip away in the freezing dark. When the rescue team finally dug a new tunnel after 18 days, they found that he had already died alone, days earlier, from starvation and exposure. The whole world watched his suffering, but only the cold, hard rock heard his final breath. Floyd was trapped by a rock. But what if the thing trapping you isn't a rock, but your own body? What if the cave doesn't just trap you, but wears you like a custom-fit shirt woven from solid rock? On the eve of Thanksgiving, 2009, John Jones, a 26-year-old medical student, a husband, and a father, wanted to relive a little bit of his childhood joy at a place called Nutty Putty Cave. He made a mistake he could never take back. He crawled into an unmapped vertical crevice. He pushed deeper and deeper, until he realized he could go neither forward nor back. He was stuck, and the position he was stuck in is a horror rarely seen even in the history of torture: upside down, hanging vertically. In this position, gravity itself became the cruelest executioner. All the blood in his body rushed to his head. The weight of his own body crushed his lungs, making it impossible to breathe. Over 100 rescuers fought for 28 hours. They tried every method human ingenuity could devise. For a moment, they succeeded, pulling him up a few inches. A ray of hope shone into that hell. But then, a rope anchor on the slick rock wall failed. It was the final straw that broke everyone's hope, including John's. He slid violently back down, deeper and tighter than before. More hopeless, after saying a final "I love you" to his wife over the radio. After 28 hours of being trapped, John Jones's heart stopped, because his body could not be safely recovered. The authorities made a heartbreaking decision. They permanently sealed the entrance of Nutty Putty Cave with concrete. They didn't just close off a cave. They were holding a belated funeral for a brave explorer, with the entire mountain range as his coffin. From internet legends to global spectacles, from instant floods to a 28-hour-long goodbye. These stories remind us that the planet we live on, while attracting us with its beauty, also uses its own laws to define the very boundaries of life. Caves do not forgive even the smallest mistake. Of all these stories, which dead end do you think is the true, inescapable hell? Leave your answer in the comments below. If you want to keep exploring the corners of this world that deserve to be remembered and reflected upon, be sure to subscribe, because the truth is far more stunning than fiction. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.